Peace and light, that old guy Australia, coming to you from Sydney, where I'm watering my lawn. I've got to keep watering it, get the grass down. Oh, it's pretty wet there. That's good. Got the turf laid, so we've got to keep it nice and wet. Like, share, subscribe, you'll know when I'm doing a video. I wasn't going to do any more, and I'll probably do some more after that, but anyway. I wasn't going to do any more before Christmas because I've been pretty busy. Be that as it may, so much stuff has come about recently that in the last 24 hours that I've left with little choice but to just address a couple of issues quickly with you. The first one is I've become aware that Santos's rape of the Pilliga in our Great Artesian Basin has been given the green light by the government. So, the court case lodged by the local Indigenous people and others has failed. And right up to Christmas, where they planned it, when everybody's going on holidays, businesses shutting down, minimal staff, skeleton staff here and there, the government has granted approval, overturned the case, granted approval, and mining and drilling will begin. I'm like, you're kidding me. Now, the Sydney Morning Herald did a scathing article on this, because this is what they do. They either pass bills at 2 o'clock in the morning when no one's around, or they wait until right at the start of a holiday season and bang, one through. And this is what they've done. The Australian government, under Albanese, has pushed this through. It is disgusting. Now, they're trying at the moment, some very good people, including my wonderful friend Aga Shah, I share, to lodge an injunction. And that's very, very hard to do coming up to Christmas. But there's been some incredible truther lawyers, let's say, for want of argument's sake, for a better description, come on board, and they have immense amount of support in pushing for this. But it's going to take more than just that. It's going to take people protesting, and it's going to take a tremendous amount of petition lodging with your local members. You've got to write to your local members and demand they investigate and decry the Pilliga rape that's going on up there, or about to start. And also, while you're at it, right, go to MPs' pages on social media. Just go to Facebook, type in Tanya Davies, whatever you want to type in, any politician you can think of, and bang, straight in the comment section, ask them why they're not doing anything about the Pilliga, and see what you can come up with. Now, the other thing I want to address was Dan Bongino's story. If you're not following Dan Bongino in America, you should be. And he did a follow-up on Tucker Carlson's dynamite revelations that there is archival evidence and documentation the CIA were involved in the assassination of JFK. That came from the person who's currently releasing under orders, only strict orders, sections of the JFK files, and who had a private conversation with Tucker Carlson and revealed to him that certain sections which involved the CIA were being held back. So now it's another conspiracy theory that we've all had, and, you know, there we go, come on little hose, is beginning to come true. Watering the yard, because it's just beautiful. And we've got to get it watered, we'll get the grass down. Alright, I'll keep watering. So, Dan Bongino did a follow-up article on that. Well worth watching. If you don't subscribe to Dan Bongino, I suggest you do. Good man. Great show. One of the things that's happening in America also is someone has come forward, and they're not saying who, and they are claiming to have some of Epstein's videos from Rape Island, where the satanic ritual abuse of children in his underground lairs on the island took place with some of the world's richest and most elite people. So, Epstein filmed them. And of course we all know that his little cohort in this evil satanic mess took the films when Epstein was put in jail. Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, the FBI raided her multi-billion-dollar home and confiscated all the videos, and they've refused to release them. But somebody has some, so they're saying, and they're purportedly threatening to release the names involved in these videos and to release the footage of the videos which purportedly show exactly what I've just mentioned. And some of those elite people who are involved in this are running scared and running for cover, already bringing out smokescreen stories. So, there's a little bit happening around the place. In Australia, we also have Dr. Kerryn Phelps, an extreme left-wing viewpoint holder, former head of the AMA, Australian Medical Association, and senator here in Australia for a brief period of time, who has now come out and said that her and her wife had suffered adverse reactions to the injections. Traumatic reactions, very distinctly bad reactions, lifelong changing reactions to the jabs. Now, in the wings are about 100,000 Australians going, yeah, well, so what? Look at our lives. Destroyed. No compensation hardly at all. 70 million set aside, about to rise to about 100 million for this year. Right? To cover the adverse effects and compensate some of these people for the trauma they've gone through. It's not enough money. It's never enough money. Not when you know the evil behind it and the reason behind it. There's no amount of money is going to compensate for that. But the mainstream media have now picked up on Kerryn Phelps, and they're interviewing her, and she's doing the rounds, and she's talking about it openly, and people are publicly, and rightly so, applauding what she's doing. I was watching Michael Sims on MMAV this morning, and he was saying exactly what I'm saying now, that, you know, any oar in the water means we're rowing forward. So we've got to take what we can get when we can get it. And I agree. I agree with him on his page, and I understand fully what he was saying. But there's a point here with a question that has to be asked. This happened a year ago. And it's only now that they're coming forward. Now, she was part of the committee where they did the investigation into the rollout, and she gave her story, as she says, and her partner's story, amongst others. She had a group of people who had suffered adverse reactions, really bad adverse reactions, and she put their stories forward as well into the investigative committee. But it's only now, a year later, that she's come out personally to tell her story. So, of course, somewhere in the back of my head, there's a buzzing sound. And when I get that, I have to stop and think quite clearly. See, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why, and I don't know why now. It makes sense, but it doesn't. There's something else going on, and I have no idea or information as to what it might be. If you do, let me know. But it doesn't sit right with me. There's something else going on. The media have swept onto this like a fly at a bloody picnic, and I don't get it. People like Rennick, Malcolm Roberts, Rex Parker, Antic, have been standing up in Parliament giving incredibly descriptive talks about what's happened, and emotive talks about what's happened, very scientific talks about what took place. They've exposed a lot of the dealings that these big pharma have had with the governments. You name it, they've been giving it to it. And you'll notice also when they're there that the Parliament's pretty much empty. They all leave. They know who's going to talk and what they're going to talk about, when they're going to talk, and they all bugger off and get half pissed. But these politicians are wise. They know that every single thing that's said is recorded in Hansard, which is the parliamentary record. And every single politician at the end of the parliamentary hearings gets a copy of the Hansard, so they can never ever say that they didn't know. Ignorance was no longer part of their weaponry. They can't use it. Because, hey, it's all been said, it's written in Hansard, you got a copy to your office. End of story. But no one was taking notice of them. Maybe, just maybe, they've pushed the pedal far enough to the floor and made enough noise about this that maybe it's starting to come out. But here's a question I'll pose to you. And I've discussed this many, many times with many, many friends. And there's varied answers. And I wouldn't say anything's right or wrong. I have my own truth, as I've said to you. But the question is this. We all know that in the end, there'll be a push for a one world government. Under Klaus Schwab and the WEF, we know that he's the orchestrator of this. He's written it out in a book for you. Just so you know, he's put it in book form and published it. He's given public announcements about it. He holds a meeting in Davos every year so that you can hear about it. So what would it take for the people of the planet to not necessarily overthrow, but demand the resignation of all the governments and accept a one world government? Because that's what's going to happen. They will accept it. But what has to take place for them to say, yes, we'll agree to that? What has to take place? That's a big, big question. If you think they've only got one plan, you've got to think again. They've got exigency plans by the bucketful. They've planned this meticulously. You're not dealing with amateurs here. You're dealing with the most powerful elite people on the face of the planet with the most obscene amounts of money backing them and the most amount of power in their pockets from other people around the world and governments and countries. So this is no lightweight. The only thing standing in their way is you and I. Always remember, I said, what is it that I can do? I can't change a thing, said 4 billion people. The power's in your hands. Peace and light. That old guy Australia, promising that I'll try to sign off before Christmas. More comebacks than Johnny Farnham. Try to sign off before Christmas. Helping the lovely Joe here. We've filled the pantry in our new squatting, in our new duplex. With the power on, that's the main thing. But no water. Anyway. Have a great Christmas. We'll catch you soon.